out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is an early edition of the Spotlight today. We are on now. It's 2 p.m. Eastern, or if you're listening later on, maybe who knows what time it is where you're at. But if you're listening live, it's 2 p.m. Eastern, wherever it is, West Coast Central Time for you. Usually we're on at 6:30, but Jensen's got a lot of gambling to do tonight, so that is why we are on early here today.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that.
I know.
But yes, my Minnesota Vikings, as y'all can see, I am decked out in gear. They're playing tonight. I wound up the shoot job that I work, has a lot of corporate policies about time off and stuff like that. So, my personal time off, it's almost the end of the year, and I had time I needed to use before the end of the year, or I was going to lose it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take off half the day today. I'm going to take off tomorrow. I got 3 more entire weeks of vacation coming up between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, which I'm really excited about. So I'll have a lot of time off the next couple months. But today especially, I was like, you know what? Vikings play tonight. I can get together with my family a little early. We can get together since I don't have to work late. We don't have the show late. So, yeah, appreciate you, Jeremy, for moving this up so we can do this early. And we'll be off next week, right? So,
yeah.
I didn't want to miss 2 weeks in a row. I wanted to make sure, even though we're early today, anyone who is available, surprise, special, early edition of the Spotlight. And if you catch this on demand, we appreciate y'all for watching, watching the VOD over here on Fightful Overbooked. So yeah, outside of that, I know that the NBA season just started. I've been keeping my eye on that a little bit. The World Series is about to start. I'm very excited for that. We got a lot of stuff going on.
Who do you got in the World Series? You picked the Mariners to start the playoffs. I'm just sticking with the Dodgers. That's who I picked, and got no reason to go against them. You think Dodgers or Blue Jays?
Man, so the thing with the Blue Jays to me is they made it this far all the way to the World Series without even having Bo Bichette in their lineup this entire postseason. And he's arguably the best player. I mean, obviously Vlad Guerrero Jr. is him and Bo Bichette are their 2 best guys. And they have a very good team, obviously. But that could be a game changer, getting him back if he's healthy and rested and he comes back and if he can produce similar to what Vlad's been doing in the postseason, that both of them against the Dodgers, I think they have a real chance. But it is hard to go against the Dodgers with their lineup and their pitching staff and stuff. I mean, Ohtani had the best game of all time the other day, throwing 10 strikeouts and hitting 3 home runs in one game, which is just completely unreal. And then you've got, Freddie Freeman, you've got Mookie Betts, you've got Teoscar Hernandez, you got Will Smith, you got, Snell, is a stud on the mound and stuff. It's really, but they've also spent the most money, and I understand that's a big part of baseball as well. So I think I'm sure, I know the Dodgers have a lot of fans and they're trying to repeat because they won the World Series last year. And they have a big fan base, and obviously LA is a humongous market and always has been. But I'm sure a lot of people are going to be rooting for the Blue Jays because, I really don't know how much they've spent in comparison to the Dodgers, but I'd imagine it's far less than what the Dodgers have spent for their lineup. As far as an actual prediction, that's really tough. Man, I'm gonna take the Dodgers. They're just too stacked from top to bottom, and once again with their pitching staff as well. But I think it's gonna be a good series, and I think they have a real shot. If Bo Bichette plays well and Vlad keeps doing what he's doing, and Springer stays hot, and those guys this could be a really good World Series. But I'm gonna take the Dodgers.
I'm rooting for the Blue Jays just because the Dodgers won last year, and I'd like to see so someone new. And it's not like the Blue Jays have a low salary. I mean, you mentioned all their top players and everything. Those guys command a lot of money. They're actually fifth in payroll. The Dodgers are first. They are fifth. So yeah, they're both top 5 teams when it comes to payroll. So the Blue Jays spend money for sure. I'm rooting for the team that hasn't won it, at least not this decade, and not since 93, I believe, was the last time they won it. So yeah, they haven't been there. I like this team. I like Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's a lot of fun. I still think the Dodgers will win, but I'm just hoping it's a good series. It's a competitive series. The Blue Jays Mariners series was fantastic, going 7. Blue Jays being down 2, losing 2 games at home to start, and then managing to come back in that way. The Dodgers have just like kind of rolled on everybody, and that's why I'm just like I don't know who's beaten this team. Like they just look completely locked in right now, and especially if their starting pitching is going to hold. Like the bullpen is the weakness, but their starters actually go 7-8 innings, so they don't have to rely as much on their bullpen. That's really what it could come down to here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. One of my, just for what it's worth, one of my first memories, like ever, like as like being alive, one of my first memories, because I would have had to have been just a few years old when Joe Carter went yard for the Blue Jays. Like I remember my whole family was watching that game, and I was very young, and I like vividly remember that home run. And so that's kind of cool seeing them, that it becomes such a big baseball fan again this past year, especially. And then also it's cool because like I grew up watching Vlad Guerrero Sr. and I grew up watching Dante Bichette, and you know what I mean? It's like their kids are now full adults that are like all-star level guys. So it's kind of crazy in full circle that like I watched their dads play in the 90s and early 2000s, and now their kids are playing in the World Series. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't gamble on sports right now, Jensen. The FBI is watching you, especially if you're gambling on NBA.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. I haven't had time to read much into that. I saw Chauncey Billups was involved. I mean, we won't even have time to talk about wrestling if I start going down the rabbit hole of how rigged I think a lot of these sports have become. Especially, dude. There is a massive, this kind of goes along with pro wrestling. It is owned by the same company as the WWE, at least, TKO. There is a massive issue right now with UFC officiating. Like, it's unreal. There needs to be
post about this, and I agree. I
said something about it, and I tweeted something. I wound up deleting something because I was like, I'm not even going to, like, get on anyone's radar about this, but I started retweeting stuff that I agreed with. It's crazy what's been happening, especially like this last month. They have referees in here that don't know the rules of UFC fight. It's completely insane. Like this was one thing back like in the early 2000s when the sport was still kind of figuring itself out, and like there was a lot of wonky rules that really didn't make a lot of sense. And a lot of it was like honestly like written by like Big John McCarthy and like a group of people that just watched people like breaking boards on ESPN in the middle of the night and stuff. And anyway, so there was excuses for this like years ago, but now we're like 20 years plus into the UFC being a mainstream sport in of course, the sport of mixed martial arts, but the UFC is the standard of that sport. And there's a separation to a degree between, in case people don't know, the UFC doesn't hire their own referees unless they're in areas that don't have commissions, which is happening soon again, by the way. But most of the time, the referees and the judges are not actually like hired employees by the UFC because too many people would suspect foul play because they could be telling the referees what to do for their own best interest for the company. Now, that all said, you know, they have had instances where someone like Steve Mazzagatti consistently did a terrible job with getting people like killed out there, and they totally stopped booking him. So like they definitely have some sort of power to decide who the referees are and who aren't. Plus, the same guys are refereeing Power Slap for Dana White, and the same referees. So like there's clearly they could heavily influence either what's happening in the fights and or who's refereeing, and have an actual accountability for when referees don't know what they're doing and cost people fights and cost people like myself who gamble on the sport a lot of money. I lost a lot of money this weekend over complete bullshit because of stuff it's been happening the last month with UFC. I had 1 week where I got really lucky. I won like $750, but it should have been like 2,000. The other week I lost a few hundred, and it's because of the same thing happening. These referees are going in there. They're stopping fights with time on the clock and then deciding afterwards based on what the fighters are saying, oh no, I'm good still. And they're just letting fights continue. It's happened it happened this past week. Remember years ago when Robbie Lawler got like bulldog headlocked by Ben Askren, and I think it was Herb Dean, called the fight off? Now with what's happening, Robbie Lawler could have just told the referee, no, I'm good. And they would just keep the fight going. Like it's been happening every week for the last month. So that's a whole other conversation in itself, but that shit is crazy. And I'm glad I saw Ariel Helwani and some of the people on his show like really calling it out recently, especially after this last week. But yeah, it's completely insane. They're like just letting fighters like decide the rules as the fight's happening. They're giving them one dude, who was it? Kevin Holland got kicked in the nuts twice in a row, had the entire 5 minutes ran out of like, you got 5 minutes to recover or the fight's over. All 5 minutes run out. The referee just stands there and goes, can you still fight? And Kevin's like, no. And the ref's like, okay, let's bring in a doctor. And they wound up making him fight. Like, and then he wound up, it's just so crazy. It cost me a bunch of money. It costs a lot of people a lot of money. It's completely insane that the UFC and you can't, they're looking at it. They have replay. Like in these other sports, in basketball, for instance, it happened to be opening night. I took a guy to hit a 3-pointer. I can't even remember his name. He hit a 3, but like 2 minutes later, they reviewed it and actually found out yes. Yeah, I had him on parlay and they took it away. And, fair enough. I don't like that because it sucked for me, but like at least the call was right. He stepped on the line. So the points went away. Like we have enough technology now to be able to replay this stuff. There should never be a scenario like what we've been seeing every show for the last month on the UFC, where the referees don't know what they're doing and nobody steps in to actually enforce the rules. So yeah, it's been very frustrating. Pay-per-view this weekend.
There is a pay-per-view this weekend. There's actually a fight that I care about on this pay-per-view. The main event, I am looking forward to that between Aspinall and Gain. The like stopping a fight and then just being, oh, no, never mind, let's continue. That's the most baffling thing in the world to me. I just don't know how you let that happen. Like, if you're going to stop the fight. Or don't stop the fight. Like, fine. But yeah, it's happened twice now in the last month where they've stopped it, but it was the end of the round. And so they're like, oh no, I didn't actually mean to do that. The one on Saturday was very egregious. There's still 3 seconds left in the round. And like, it definitely should have been stopped. Whoever, I don't remember the guy's name.
It was Mergliata.
Oh yeah. Okay. The referee. Sure. I don't remember who the fighters were.
Oh,
yeah. The one dude was getting his ass kicked. Like I was like, that's a justified stoppage there.
Yep.
And it was 3 seconds left and then they stopped it. It's like, okay, cool. And they just let it continue. Like, how in the world is this a thing? How is this legal?
Yeah, how is nobody on any level seeing the replay and then just telling Big Dan immediately, hey, you stopped it with 3 seconds left, the fight's over. And that would have just been the end of it. Like, no one would have even looked bad. Mergliata wouldn't have even looked bad because all we would have seen of him would have been between rounds, him being like, the fight's still on. And then someone correcting him and him being like, oh, no, the fight's over. Like, that would have been the end of it. And those are the 2 fights that this happened at the end of the round. There was also another one that happened in between these fights where a guy got hit with a legal punch in the first round, covered up like he got poked in the eye and went down to a knee. The referee called the fight off, like waved his hands in the air, fight's over. And then the dude said, no, I got poked in the eye. And then they looked at the replay, no eye poke, completely legal. But the referee was like, well, I stopped it because I thought there was an eye poke, but like I thought it was, then they just continued the fight and they wound up going to a decision instead of the fight ending in the first round. Which is like, how does that happen? How do you call it off and then for any reason just continue it? There's so much on the line, not even just the money, like the adrenaline dump of the fighter who thinks he won and is celebrating in the corner and then finds out, oh, no, you got to keep fighting for another 10 minutes. Like, screw that, dude. So, Anyways, yeah, I'm very fed up with the UFC. If it happens again, like I might legitimately stop watching it. Like and I've been watching every show since 2006 or whatever. Like I'm about to be done if this keeps happening.
All right, let's get into some wrestling.
Yeah.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW Wrestle Dream this past weekend, headlined by Jon Moxley, Darby Allin, in an I Quit match, and Darby Allin forced Jon Moxley to say I quit with a scorpion deathlock after he hit him with the coffin drop and hit him with the bat. He put him in the deathlock, and as Moxley was swimming in water, he said I quit. We also had the return of Sting, who saved Darby Allin from further drowning and the Death Riders. But Jensen, what do you think of this match and this finish?
So, first of all, the match itself, there were points where I think they did go a little too far with certain stuff, but specifically the skewers to the fingertips. Like that kind of stuff just freaks me out. Yeah, like, same. You know, like I don't like that. But like I saw more uproar about like the drowning spot and that kind of stuff. You just watched Breaking Bad again, right? You were talking about that. This is like, you know, part of me is like they've gone too far, but the other part of me is like, it reminds me of there's that dude in Breaking Bad who they set up like to go to jail. So they think it's Heisenberg. Like he goes to jail for money.
Yeah.
And their explanation, Saul's like, he likes going to jail. Like he likes that better than being on the outside. That's like Darby going into a match like this. It's like, I'm disgusted by some of this stuff. I totally understand why people think it's too far and a lot of people don't want to watch it go that far. But like, I know going into it, he enjoys this. Like he even talked about it on Helwani's show the other week. Like, for lack of better terms, like he's getting off on like on taking it too far. You know what I mean? Like this is what gets him going is like, you know, doing stuff that nobody else would put themselves through. And he like actually enjoys the pain. This dude, I mean, him talking about climbing the mountain and coming back down and seeing dead bodies there that weren't there the day before when he walked up that way. You know what I mean? Like the mental pain this guy has seen, the physical pain of doing what he's done, the stuff he's doing in the ring. Darby Allin's just a completely different type of human being. And so that's all to say, it didn't surprise me that they did the stuff they did in this match. But to a degree, as weird as it sounds, it also like, especially the finish, which I know has been highly debated, they didn't, like the skewers, I think was too far, but there wasn't anything else really. I don't think that was like overly gross more than I like there was really cool spots like Claudio throwing Darby from the ring through the announce table. That was awesome. But like, you know, you almost expect him to go through a pane of glass and be bleeding everywhere else, you know, like, so on one hand, I'm surprised they didn't go even farther. But on one hand, like there are certain things they did that were like disgusting. So like, I guess it was kind of a good balance. But then the actual finish, it was great seeing Sting because I've been calling for that on this show. Every Darby Allin match since Sting left, you know, I want to see Sting back. And I hope that Jazwares, I don't know what's going on with their deal with AEW, but I hope that them or whoever's making their figures going forward, I hope that they put out a old man Sting action figure soon with like the painted beard. I've wanted that since he started doing that. But what did you think about the Scorpion Deathlock being the finish? Because that seems to be like, honestly, the most debated thing is like after everything they've gone through and done to one another, he tapped out essentially to a submission hold.
I understand why people were upset. It did feel a little anticlimactic given everything, given that what Jon Moxley has said. We know what Jon Moxley has done in the past. I mean, he's been in, I think he was in the Sharpshooter Deathlock. He was a Boston Crab against Kenny Omega, and he crawled through broken glass, I think it was, to get the ropes or to get out to the outside and everything. So we know we can survive that kind of stuff. But the story of this Jon Moxley is that he's a giant coward. He says all these things, and then he doesn't back it up. in the ring. It was the same thing with Hangman. Like, he needs the Death Riders to win these matches. And when they get neutralized, he can't do it on his own. And when he faces any type of adversity, he immediately throws in the towel. And that's what they did with Hangman. That's what they did here with Darby. So for the story purpose, I understood why they went with something like that. Do I think they could have done maybe just a little bit more? Like, my suggestion of like choking him with the flag, running him up the flag pole, they kind of just did like a hanging. So I understand why they didn't want to go back to that. So I get it from a story perspective, but yeah, when it ended, I was like, that was a little flat, because you just kind of expect a much more serious, or you expect them to go to much greater lengths, given it's an I Quit match between two guys who don't really say I quit, and two guys who have been through just about everything you can go through. I mean, we watched Jon Moxley with a spike bat sticking out of his back.
I was about to bring that up.
Just a few months ago. Like, we know he can take some damage and everything. So it felt anticlimactic from that. But otherwise, I didn't like have a huge issue with it. My issue was, and this is more on the commission, because they clearly couldn't get away with a whole lot because of the commission. And I thought it was very funny that in the pre-tape that they did last night on Dynamite, like, Moxley was like much more bloodier than he was on the show. Like, his back was completely bloody, his arms were completely bloody. And it's like, oh, they're making this look a lot worse than it did on the show, because he wasn't bleeding like we know Jon Moxley to bleed at all on the show. And that's a commission thing. The lack of fire in this match, I had an issue with, because you spent weeks basically telling us we're going to do fire. Darby had a flamethrower. Darby had a Molotov cocktail. Darby set him on fire at All Out. Like, you more or less promised that fire was going to be used in some capacity here. And the most they did was the lighter fluid, but then no further than that. But that's a commission thing, I'm 99% sure of. And then I go back to, well, you knew the show was in Missouri. So if you knew you couldn't get away with these things, maybe don't tease them on television.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point as well. Like, you would think, because I'm obviously aware of, the athletic commissions, especially when it comes to like mixed martial arts and stuff. But I know that some of the states can get really wonky with the pro wrestling commission rules. Like, there's one state, it might even be Missouri, where they don't even allow like men and women to wrestle each other still in pro wrestling. Like, so like there's certain places where like they're still super far behind when it comes to the commissions. I remember there was one commission, it may have been New York. I honestly can't remember. Remember years ago when Habib was supposed to fight, it might have been Connor, but then Connor threw the dolly. But Habib wound up fighting Ally Quinta, I remember, on short notice. But the UFC wanted to book Paul Felder versus Habib on short notice. But the commission was like, Felder isn't ranked high enough for us to allow this. And they were like, who cares about he's ranked like 15. But Iaquinta was ranked like a little bit higher. So the commission allowed Iaquinta to fight for the title, but they wouldn't allow Felder to fight for the title. So like this is an example of like just how weird some of that stuff can be. But you have to know that if you're Tony Khan. But here's the other thing, to be fair. Well, I shouldn't say to be fair. They should have planned this out better, probably. I'm going to be kind of all over the place with this, because they last night heavily hinted that this wasn't the end of this. Yeah. So that's, to me, like, why wouldn't you have booked the I Quit match in a state where this wouldn't have been an issue at the next pay-per-view and on Wrestle Dream, which also has kind of been like, I know AEW in general, we're the best wrestle, and like they're very, very heavy on like having long, good, in-ring matches. But like Wrestle Dream in particular feels like the type of show where it's like just a pure wrestling one-on-one match. See who's the better man between Moxley and Darby. Like, would have made the most sense on that specific pay-per-view, and then do the I Quit match in a state where you can literally light each other on fire. Like, you want to go JJ Allen with it, and you want to light your entire body on fire and jump into an above ground pool, go for it. There's certain places that are totally let you do it, but St. Louis isn't one of those places. So it is a little confusing why they went the route that they did. And I have to give Tony more credit, honestly, than to like, I can't imagine that just like crept up on him. Like, you know, maybe it did. Maybe give him too much credit. I don't know. But it just feels like you can't, like you had to have known you were going to have limitations before Showtime, you know?
Yeah, you knew you were booking. You announced Missouri months ago. You know what the Missouri Commission is. People pointed it out before the show about the Missouri Commission. Like, you know what the commission is. They're not gonna be like, oh, you know what, AEW, fine, we'll relax our rules for you on this show. Like, that's just not gonna happen. So, and Tony Khan is also smart enough. Like, Tony knows everything about everything. Like, he knows the commission.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, if you're gonna continue this Darby Moxley thing, which it does look like they're doing, which I'm not the biggest fan of. You just did a coffin match and an I Quit match. You should probably let that breathe a little bit. But if you're gonna continue it, yeah, push back the match. Do it at Full Gear in New Jersey. I don't know what the New Jersey Commission. Maybe they're terrible as well. But do it at Full Gear. Do it somewhere else. Like whatever you got to do. But that was my issue with the match is. You teased fire, you didn't deliver fire. It wasn't as over the top as it probably could have been. And that's a commission thing, but also AW deserves a little bit of blame for putting it in Missouri, knowing that there were going to be some commission restrictions on it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's a couple confusing things about that. Like you said, Tony Khan knows everything about everything. I got to give him the credit and strongly assume that he knew long in advance that he couldn't pay off some of these ideas that they had been kind of teasing. And also I'm kind of confused as to why they need to even continue Mox and Darby beyond what we've already seen, especially with Darby winning. Like, isn't that the ultimate end game goal of this whole thing is Darby beating Mox and how he's done it? And I guess you could say like the ultimate end game goal or whatever is actually Darby becoming the AEW World Champion, which would be a fair point. I would agree with that as well. But you got to move on from Moxley at some point for that to happen. Or Moxley has to win the title back, which I really don't want to see happen. And y'all know me. Like, I like Moxley. It's just the Death Riders thing ran its course with him as champion. You know? And I like them better now where they're at than when they were when he was the champion, which is a little weird that that's played out the way that it has, that Moxley's group is more interesting with him, not with the title. And he's getting more people to buy into joining his group after he's lost the championship. It seems a bit backwards, but also another interesting layer of this, by the way, that does tie in a little bit is the ops with like Joe turning heel, because I thought that maybe we were going to get more like ops versus Death Riders type stuff, but with them both being heel groups now, you know, I think I don't think that's what's going to happen. So I'm kind of interested.
It looks like they're doing Death Riders and conglomeration stuff.
Yeah. Death Riders and conglomeration, which also, like, you know, y'all know how much I love Kyle O'Reilly. I like seeing him get some big spots. You know, he had that match. Did he technically win the match with Moxley last night by DQ?
Yeah, Moxley got himself DQ'd. So
yeah. So I mean, Kyle's got the talent and always has, and he's just dealt with like really serious injuries and health problems and stuff in recent years. But like, if he's good to go, he's someone they can really use as a major asset in pretty much any of these type of situations and big matches. You can really you can push him still, and I think it would work. And the conglomeration, good to see them finally having like, you know, a real entrance with like, you know, the sitcom style, you know, Titantron video and new music and all that kind of stuff too. So interested to see kind of where that goes. But yeah, that's kind of a off to the side, but there's obviously a lot of groups in AEW. So I'm kind of interested to see what the Death Riders do, how that looks against the conglomeration, and how Darby is still like factored into that, because I'd like Darby to move on now. You know, especially with Sting showing up, like where do you go from here in this for them to have another match outside of them having just a straight up one-on-one match, which also seems backwards. that would honestly feel like the most that Darby could prove to anybody at this point would just be the two of them having a match, everyone barred from ringside, or like a steel cage, but like you have to win by pin or submission or something. And like Darby just straight up beats Jon Moxley and just proves he's the better man at this point. Because otherwise, unless you're going to go even farther, like we talked about, you come up with some other match type or whatever. And the big payoff is, you know, Moxley getting lit on fire, you know, Sting versus Vampiro style, and like jumping off the stage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't think of anything bigger that they can do that they've kind of teased up to this point. So, and Darby's got to win at the end of the day, and he already has. So, yeah, I guess I'm confused about a lot of stuff, but, you know, we'll see where it goes.
I like the idea of a cage match as long as there's actually everybody stays out, because in far too often in wrestling you do a cage match and then the door opens and somebody comes in or people still come to ringside and everything. Like, the point of the cage is so people don't actually get in and you can just settle it one-on-one. So a cage match is cool. AEW typically does like pinfall submission in the cage anyway. I don't know if there's been a single instance of escape the cage to win. So I would trust that it would be pinfall or submission. Otherwise, yeah, I do like the idea of, all right, one-on-one, but everybody's banned from ringside type of thing. And that's how you settle it. Because I think that's the only way to go. I don't know how you elevate the violence unless you do a bigger, grander, I quit, no DQ, whatever type of match. And you do actually set people on fire. Like you said, like you do actually have like a big stunt out there. But I can go with a cage match to settle it, and as long as people actually stay out.
Yeah, and that was the whole reason back in the day that they created Hell in a Cell also. And then ironically enough, Kane came out and ripped the door off. The first one, got involved. Second one, they started on top of the cage, and famously, you know, we saw what happened to Mick Foley throughout that match. Legendary match. But yeah, it's funny how like it was created to keep people out, and then like then a lot of the big stuff happened with like, you know, outside interference or being outside of the actual cell, ironically enough. But yeah, you'd have to do something like that, or one of those, you know, like barbed wire steel cage matches where, like, you know what I mean? That probably would be the route to go. Put barbed wire all around the top so no one can escape. Put weapons up towards the top or hanging from the cage on the sides or something, and just let them go at it.
That might be where they go. Barbed wire, steel cage, lights out, like they did with Hangman and Swerve. Like, that might be what finally settles things, because yeah, I don't know where else you're gonna go after an I Quit match. All right, my AEW spotlight is the AEW Women's Tag Team Title Tournament. We finally have brackets. It is 8 teams. I'm gonna pull up the bracket here. Jensen, who do you have in this tournament? We can go round by round. If you
okay.
All right.
Yeah, so let's do it.
All right. Aminata and Hayter against Julia Hart and Sky Blue.
So individually, I like Aminata and Hayter better than Sky Blue and Julia Hart, but collectively as a team, I think the Sisters of Sin is going to win to move on. So I'm going to take them.
I think Aminata and Hayter are going to win, and I think they should win this whole thing based just on their finish, because that headbutt Haterade combo is one of the coolest things ever.
They rule. I mean, yeah, they rule. I mean, I'm a big fan of both women. I just, you know, Sisters of Sin, they've just kind of been like a thing for longer. Like this whole tag team, like they're going to have some, like, they're creating this tag team division. They need some like real teams actually looking good. I feel like, I just don't feel like Aminata and Hayter are going to team for that long. But either way, yeah, I'm going to take Sisters of Sin. You got Aminata and Hayter.
Yeah. Willow and Harley against Mercedes and Athena.
So Mercedes and Athena is a really cool team, but I am a little bummed out that it isn't Athena and Billy Starks, because that would also make a lot of sense.
Billy Starks is bummed out.
Yeah, she should be. And part of me is also like, is this just another belt that Mercedes is about to win? Like, is this part of this whole thing? Which I'm leaning towards. I think once again, individually, I won't say that I like Harley and Willow better than Monet and Athena. I like all 4 of these women a lot, but like for totally different reasons. Like Harley is just just straight up entertaining. Like she would be an entertainer regardless of like whatever she wanted to do. Similar to someone like LeBron James, like he could have been a professional athlete at anything he wanted to. She's just an entertainer. And Willow, I love, like, I hope Willow becomes the AEW Women's World Champion one day. Like I really do. I think she could totally be the face of women's wrestling. But right now, I mean, I got to go with, Athena hardly ever loses. Monet's got 12 title belts. I'm going to take Monet and Athena to win.
I'm going with Mercedes and Athena as well. Alex Windsor and Riho against the timeless love bombs, Tony and Mina.
I'm going timeless love bombs. These women came together for a reason. They're not going to be just one and done in this tournament. It gives Tony something big to kind of bounce back, both of them really, to bounce back and like try to become champions. Since neither are currently like the world champion, or TBS champion or anything. So this, I like, it seemed random when it happened kind of, but like, I do like the pairing. Not totally random, but like I didn't expect them to like become a thing right after Tony lost. Like, but it makes sense with this tag team division starting up. You need more teams. They're two very credible women. And then on the other side, Windsor's, been doing some good stuff, and Riho's the first, ever women's world champion for AEW. But I think this is the easiest prediction, honestly, on here. Probably, I'm taking Tony and Mina.
I'm going with Tony and Mina as well. Yeah, this is a pretty easy one to call. I don't see Windsor and Riho going to the second round here. And then Megan Payne and Penelope Ford against Ty J.
So I'm going to go. So this one I'm a little more torn on for the reasons of like Carmelo and Anna Jay. Obviously, they've been linked together in AEW for a really long time at this point, and I would like to see them have success as a tag team. Of all the teams in this tournament, like they're the ones who have been by far been together the longest in AEW. But I also feel like Megan Payne and Penelope Ford have, like, I think that they were put together a while back on AEW, even when Payne was gunning more towards the Women's World Championship. I think that they were put together a while back specifically because the tag team division was in the works. So, like, I do think they have big plans for Payne and Ford as a tag team in the company. So because I feel like they have bigger plans for them, and I think of these four, they see the biggest star power at the moment in Megan Payne. So I'm going to go with Payne and Penelope Ford to advance over Mello and Anna Jay.
I'm going with Ty J. And for reasons you were kind of touching on, is they've been together so long. I do think these titles come to fruition a couple years ago when they were kind of at the top of the tag team division. They might have been the first world champions, but because they didn't, they probably won't be the first tag team champions. I think they're going to be rewarded for that. Do I think Megan Payne should look strong? Yes. I think she will look strong. They beat Penelope Ford every week. She literally just got beat last night. I think they're okay. They're obviously okay with beating Penelope Ford. I think this is a goodwill gesture towards Anna Jay and Ty Mello of, you're in the tournament, we're going to give you this win. You're probably not getting past the next round, but we're going to at least give you this win because you two have been here like doing tag team stuff since the very beginning.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea, of course, of them winning that match. Like, and especially because Penelope Ford, I mean, like you said, I could totally see a scenario where Penelope Ford takes the pinfall for TJ to win, but or Ty J. I always pronounce her name. I waffle on her name so much. It's so bad. She's probably worse than anybody in wrestling with the way that it's spelled, the way that it's said, the way that it's pronounced. Jeez. I'm going to stick with Payne and Ford, but I think that either way, we're both taking Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa probably to win the next round regardless. So
yeah, I have Tony and Mina advancing to the finals. And who do you have on the other side?
I'm gonna take Mercedes, Ultimo, Monet, and Athena to. I think that's just the most star power, probably the biggest women's tag match you could put on right now, given the women on this list. So I'm gonna go with the finals being Ultimo and Athena versus Tony and Mina.
I have the same finals. Now, who do you have as the first champion?
So I feel like it's almost too obvious for Mina and Tony because like so much of this has been like centered around them since they, kind of united together after Tony's loss for the, trying to get her title back. And, so I don't love the idea of Mercedes Moné just like winning every championship, but like if anyone's gonna do this, like it kind of makes sense. I don't know. I historically I have not liked this kind of stuff happening just for what it's worth in pro wrestling. Like there have been other championships I remember throughout history, like in TNA it would randomly happen where like the X Division champion would also be the tag team champion and stuff like that. I prefer the titles to kind of stay separate for a lot of reasons, but Monet's gimmick is literally outdoing Ultimo Dragon and like winning more title belts. And also it could lead to Monet maybe even being the one to beat Athena, even though I think that'd be a bad idea because someone else should get the rub off of Athena in that long title reign. I don't know. This is a tough one. I'm actually going to take Monet and Athena to actually do it, and then Monet gets another title belt.
Okay. I fully agree. I think
nice.
Mercedes and Athena are going to win. I think it's another title for Mercedes. It's another title for Athena as well. She would be a double champion with the ROH Women's World title and the tag team titles. And I think when they do lose the titles, that will be the beginning of the downfall of Mercedes. They'll lose the titles. That'll be one title she's lost, and then she will start to gradually drop all of these other titles, however it happens. But this is what I think she continues to ascend. She has the world title match against Statlander at Full Gear. I'm not even be shocked if she wins that match, honestly. At this point, she's just winning every single title. I do think Statlander will actually win that title. But I think that they win the titles here, and then whenever they do lose the title, which I don't think it's going to be a super long run, that's when the Mercedes downfall will begin.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, I wasn't expecting that. So we both actually are going to take that. And we both agree. Well, I shouldn't say we both agree. I'm speaking for you. I wish Billie Starkz was in that spot. That'd be very big for her career. And she really should be the one to beat Athena, but they've been teasing it for forever at this point.
Third time's the charm at Final Battle this year.
Okay. Honestly, like it's gotta be. But I like the idea though of like the tag titles starting to be the catalyst of her losing all the belts. Because also some of these other companies she's holding these titles for, I don't know if she'll ever actually go back and like drop all these titles to every. I mean, I hope she does for the sake of the promotions that are putting the titles on her right now. But like that's a lot of work and a lot of traveling and a lot of jobs to do back to back to back to back, going all over the world and losing to whoever the next champion is.
I don't think she's going to lose the match. Obviously, she's going to lose the titles. I think you're going to see 3-way, 4-way matches, and she doesn't like actually get pinned in those matches. I do think she will travel, go back to these promotions. I mean, she's already been announced for the Polish promotion, or no, the Italy promotion. I don't remember the promotion's name. I'm sorry. I remember the locations more than the names, but she's already been announced for the Italy promotion to return there. So I don't think she has an issue with the traveling and everything. She literally just did Mexico, Missouri, Toronto, three cities, 3 countries in 3 days on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I don't think she has an issue with any of that. And I do think that she's not actually going to take like 12 pinfalls. I think she will lose these titles in 3-4-way matches. She'll lose the TBS title one-on-one. She'll get pinned for that one. These other titles feels like it's just 3-4-way, and that's how she gets off of them.
The one thing that I disagree with you on that you said throughout your prediction. And I don't know if it's necessarily a disagreement because you might actually agree, but it sounded like you're going to take Statlander over Monet. I think Monet is actually going to wind up winning the championship.
Okay.
So I will throw that in there too. That at some point, I feel like you can't get this close with. I mean, once again, I'm not advocating that this is a good idea to put. Like, I didn't like when Kurt Angle won every single championship in TNA. You know what I mean? Even though I love Kurt Angle, like, it just didn't make any sense to do that. But for Mercedes to get this close already and win all the other titles, it's like, and also how many times is she going to get a shot at the world championship and lose? That kind of looks bad at a certain point too. Like, you get multiple title shots and it's just kind of proving, well, all the other titles you have, like, that's cool, but like, you can't win the actual big one that matters. So how important really are all the 12 other titles you've got? So I feel like Mercedes at some point's got to win it, and she might as well, unless they do something where she loses all the other titles, which would seem once again weird and backwards to go on like a big losing streak and then become the AEW Women's World Champion. But yeah, we'll see. But I'm actually going to take Mercedes to beat Statlander just to complete the mission or whatever.
It wouldn't surprise me if Mercedes beats Statlander, because I am in agreement with what she's saying of, okay, she can't win the world title. But I also think that's the story, is she's collecting all of these titles to basically fill the void that she can't win the world title. It's like, I can't get the title that is at the top of our company. Let me go to Italy. Let me go to Poland. Let me go to Mexico. Let me go to Iceland, whatever, like, and get their titles. I can win those titles, but I can't win the title in the second biggest company, the title that has eluded me since I've been here. I think that's part of the story. And I think that Chris Statlander, she's lost twice to Mercedes. People thought that she should have beaten Mercedes in the second match because the first match was so good. It's like, all right, are they going to, like, has done a lot of good work here. Maybe this is where the reign ends. And it obviously didn't. So I think Statlander winning is also part of the story and defeating Mercedes. Now, all that said, it would not shock me if Mercedes just wins and it's like, I have got another championship. I joked about this on In the Weeds. Like, I have every single title. I have conquered wrestling. What is there left to do? And then she just vacates all the titles and it's just like, I'm done with everything.
Well, I thought about that also. Like, if she, once again, I feel like I gotta preface all this by like making it clear, I'm not advocating for these ideas. I'm just throwing them out there. Like, if she won the Women's World Championship, then just vacated all the other ones. Like, she won the one that matters, and then she just stayed with the world title. But then they'd have to do like tournaments or figure out ways of crowning all these new champions again.
No offense to these independent promotions, like, yeah, they'd have to figure out a new way to crown new champions and stuff, but they can do all of that. That ain't the most difficult thing in the world for them. The tougher ones would be, I mean, the ROH Women's interim television title. That can just go by the wayside if Red Velvet gets back. The TBS title is the big one there. Like, how do you?
She's had it for so long. Champion? You want someone to beat her for that. Yeah,
someone needs to actually beat her to end that reign. It does not need to be, all right, it's vacant now. I've won the women's world title. I do not need this TBS title. That would be kind of a slap in the face to fans and the journey of this past year and a half since she's won the title.
You'd have to almost do something where it was like similar to the unified title, where if she won the world title but vacated everything except for the TBS title and just treated that similar to how, like, when Rollins was the US champion and WWE champion at the same time and stuff, like, you know, maybe you hold those two titles simultaneously, but whoever, you know, beats you, you know, becomes the women's world champion. And then at that point they do like a tournament for the TBS title. You know what I mean? Like, someone eventually she holds both titles. Someone eventually does beat her to win both titles. And then they vacate, you know, the lesser one and hold on to the world. Once again, speaking of history, Bill Goldberg, he did that with the U.S. Championship when he won the world title. Anyways.
All right, so we're both taking Mercedes and Athena to win the tag team titles.
Yes.
we shall see how it plays out in the coming weeks. I assume the finals will be at Full Gear, so we will know at Full Gear who the new champions are. Let's get into WWE.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Jey Uso, CM Punk for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday night's main event. Seth Rollins vacated the title due to an injury. We talked a little bit about it last week, and we did get a conclusion that, yes, Seth Rollins is hurt. He underwent surgery. We don't know fully how long he's going to be out. According to various reports, it could be to WrestleMania, if not past WrestleMania, but none of that is confirmed. But he vacated the title. They held the Battle Royal. Jey Uso won the Battle Royal. Punk won his title shot the week before. He beat LA Knight and Jey Uso in a triple threat match to earn his title shot. And now we're going to get Jey Uso and CM Punk at Saturday night's main event.
Yes. Also, big story there is in the Battle Royal, Jimmy saved Jey multiple times, and then Jey just eliminated. It was him and was it LA Knight at the same time?
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is just because with Jimmy, clearly that's a big part of the story. Because even after the match, when Punk and Jey are facing off with one another, you can see Jimmy in the shot in between them when he's on the entrance ramp. And part of me is how long and drawn out can you possibly do? Because I feel we went through all this Usos versus each other and teaming for it's been at least 5 years now with the bloodline storyline and them coming back together, and now it looks like they're apart again. Although obviously the difference here is that they're leaning way more heavily into Jey looking like he's turning heel. And Jimmy would be the good guy, but I'm not clamoring for another Usos feud either. I'm hoping, maybe it's time for them to actually elevate Jimmy. Now, I don't know if they can get him to the level of Jey. Jey's kind of lightning in a bottle, and the Yeet stuff, really worked, and him winning the Royal Rumble was great timing and all that stuff. But, I guess I just hope that they have something, good plan, because also LA Knight's involved in that too. And I was also just thinking, this is very random, but when Chris Jericho returns to the WWE, I if that happens, I'm just pretty confident that it will. I want to see him and LA Knight. I know that might sound really random to people, but that's been on my mind lately. Because they've never wrestled each other. And there's a lot of guys Jericho hasn't wrestled yet when he comes back, because he's been gone for so long. But just kind of throwing that out there. If and when we see LA Knight versus Jericho, just know that I'm pre looking forward to how that goes. But then we get to, Jey Uso actually winning. And he last eliminated Dom, right? It actually came down to him and Dom. But obviously Dom doesn't need the win. Already the IC champion. Already, the coolest guy in the entire company outside of Cody Rhodes. Who we'll talk about here shortly.
Even Cody would admit that Dom is cooler than him.
maybe. Dom
there's no maybe. Cool. He has said that in an interview, one of Cody's podcasts. I forget who he was talking to. It might have been Priest when he was on Cody's podcast, and they were just Dom's so cool, and Cody's yeah, I wish I was as cool as Dom. I'll just never reach that cool level. That's
hilarious. I saw Dom with Nate Diaz also the other day. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, but anyway, CM Punk and Jey Uso is the match that's happening for the vacant world championship. As you mentioned, Seth Rollins having to vacate due to injury. I mean, this match is in 2 weeks, right? This is about to come
next
up
week.
At the beginning.
Yeah, it's next Saturday.
So, man, I'm kind of torn on who I think is going to actually win the match, because so much of what Punk was doing was revolving around Seth, and so much of that whole story was Seth not letting Punk become the champion. I know Punk technically beat Gunther and was the champion for a few minutes, but do they just kind of put that whole idea on the back burner and Punk wins the title now because, Seth's hurt, and that's actually part of the story also is like, well, I was able to do this because Seth wasn't around to stop me, which would make sense logically. Or do you go back to Jey Uso, who they clearly haven't moved on from? I'm not saying they should have, but when he was the world champion, you could see things heading towards being maybe a little stale or a little repetitive. He's not the best in-ring worker, but he's very over. And, his world title reign came to such a quick stop. And a lot of that just seemed like a vehicle to get it on Gunther for the Goldberg match, which that shouldn't have happened the way that it went down either. I don't think Gunther should have even won the title, and Goldberg shouldn't have been in a title match that night. I think Jey should have kept the title longer, personally. But so from there, and I need to say all that to get to where we're at, because now it's do you go back to Jey? And if you do, you're really hinting that he's a heel, or at least the way he's been treating Jimmy has been heelish, and LA Knight's a babyface, and him and LA Knight have been going at it. So it's do you go full heel Jey Uso champion? And that's an interesting dynamic too. Eventually, a heel Jey versus a babyface Roman Reigns at some point or something. It's something we've seen before, but the scripts are flipped. So it will be different and it will be fresh in a lot of ways. So that's kind of what I'm actually leaning towards. I think Jey Uso is going to beat CM Punk, but he's going to do something super heelish to win the championship and go full heel and become and also reference that him being everyone's favorite, being him caring about the fans, all that got him was he won the title, then lost it right away. This time's going to be different. So I'm going to take Jey Uso to actually win when this goes down.
It would not surprise me if Jey Uso went heel, because they have been teasing that, and that's how they just flip it for him and put the title on him. I've thought about him aligning with Heyman, and Heyman going to Jey Uso, who he's liked, and that being the new, not necessarily the tribal chief, but that being the new guy to be there. Heyman's not loyal to anybody. We all know that. We didn't really reference it, but I've referenced it throughout the week. I don't know how Braun Breaker's not in this spot and just winning the title. I think that's a giant misstep by WWE, and we'll see if... I assume he'll get the title down the line, but you have something with him right now as the top heel, and he can carry that spot. You don't do that big turn on Seth Rollins if you aren't ready to put him in that spot. Otherwise, you just... Seth is out, he vacates, Braun and Bronson just kind of continue to cruise as a tag team with Heyman. Brock is still involved somewhere. I mean, Heyman didn't say, I made the call to get Brock. He doesn't go out there to be at WrestlePalooza to introduce Brock and everything, unless, and there was that backstage segment with Brock, or not with Brock, with Heyman talking to Cody and everything about Brock. So Brock is still involved in this whole orbit. I don't know how Braun is not the guy here. That he should be the guy here, but he's not. It is Jey and Punk. I'm kind of leaning towards Jey just because Punk almost feels too obvious. And I don't know if they're going to go too obvious.
The other scenario they could go is, and this defies a lot of logic, and once again, maybe not a great idea, just thinking out loud, but what if Punk beats Jey, wins the championship again, but this is where the Money in the Bank would be so valuable. If Seth never cashed that in, for instance, and Braun Breaker could take that briefcase and cash it in himself, that would be the perfect scenario right now. But that really all that could happen would be is Heyman would somehow have to get Braun an immediate shot against CM Punk, basically, to get the title back off of CM Punk. So it's like Punk keeps getting screwed out of being the champion, even while Seth's gone. And then Braun is the champion. But I would have preferred Braun just being the one to beat Punk straight up for the vacant title, or Jey, or a triple threat, or I mean, if you got to fast track it for the sake of availability, like do Braun Breaker and Roman Reigns vacant title. Like that feels like a really big match. Especially if Braun just straight up beat Roman Reigns, like with Roman now it's a little more complicated because Roman's coming off of the loss to Bronson Reed. So I guess maybe you'd want him to beat Bronson Reed before going on to Braun Breaker, but they can figure that all out. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with a heel Jey Uso, but I'm right there with you. Like all signs really pointed towards Braun Breaker being the next guy. So I am a bit confused as to why he's not involved in this in any way, or at least not yet.
I don't get it. It felt like the opportunity to make Braun Breaker, and now they're just going to delay it for reasons because they want to do a bigger stage or whatever it might be. I've said it earlier this week. Like, if you have the guy, if you have the opportunity, just go ahead and make him. Because you don't know where the landscape's going to be in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You have no idea. No one suspected Seth was going to get hurt in this manner. And now he is, and now you got to change plans. It sounds nice of, hey, let's not put the title on Braun until Rumble or WrestleMania. What if someone else catches fire at that point? What if Braun gets hurt at that point? God forbid. You just don't know. So if you have the guy, and I do think Braun is the guy for them, just go ahead and make him. Especially when your other options are Jey Uso, who we saw, and it didn't really work out, and CM Punk, who, fine, it's CM Punk. I can understand it, but he's also a little long in the tooth. And where are you going with the CM Punk stuff, with everything? It just feels like an opportunity to make Braun Breaker, and they're not going to use the opportunity, at least not this weekend. Or next week.
Well, and also, like, realistically speaking, why would Bronson Reed take orders from Braun Breaker when Bronson Reed is coming off the win over Roman Reigns? Like, why wouldn't he be like, I want the championship? Like why would I listen to everything you're saying and let you hold the title belt? Like, I just beat Roman Reigns. I should get the title.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point.
Maybe they build something completely new around Braun Breaker. Maybe they totally pivot, and it's like Braun and Heyman, and they maybe quickly turn on Bronson after they get what they need out of him being their muscle or something. I don't know. There's been a lot of talk about like Austin Theory maybe joining them or something. I've seen people online, I think, speculating that. I mean, there could be other people that could join the group, to make it. I actually expect more people to join, or if Brock's there more consistently, if they establish that Brock isn't interested in the title belt, but he's interested in being involved in helping Braun and Heyman out as like almost like a hired, like a hitman for them pretty much. Like that's something I can maybe, get behind also, depending on how it plays out. So, I mean, they got options, but ultimately they do have to pull the trigger on Braun Breaker probably sooner than later. But I also think that you got something with Bronson Reed too, with a lot of momentum where, you got to do something with, because it looks like they were going to be doing a lot of more, maybe as a tag team, or it was going to lead towards Roman Reigns versus Braun Breaker at some point anyways, maybe, but I think they're just going to have to like speed up a lot of their plans. Stuff that they would have done at like WrestleMania, they're going to need to do like soon instead, probably. So.
All right, my spotlight for WWE. Drew and Cody gonna run it back at Saturday night's main event. You have to believe that Drew McIntyre should win this match. Are we really just another Cody Rhodes victory? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, I mean, because there's just no reason for Cody to lose.
The reason is that this reign has not been much of anything, and Drew can actually do something with the title. Like, Drew can actually have the title and make good on his promises and face some baby faces who are coming up. There's no great heels for Cody right now.
It's not Cody's fault.
If he beats Drew, then who's left for him? What's left for him? this Cody reign just is not very inspiring, and it's not fully his fault. I don't think it is, but at some time, you just got to move on and get the title, and there's just more money in the chase with Cody. Just do something else for a little bit, because he's been so centric around the title. And then if Drew loses again, he just fails again. You have another failure by Drew. You stop taking him serious.
So that's the only issue I have with any of that is like, I like Drew and I don't want him being pigeonholed as somebody who can't get the job done and has had this many opportunities. But I mean, I'm obviously not going to go against Cody. I did see that, and this would be a bit of a retread also, because we saw Cody versus Nakamura towards the beginning of Cody's first title run, but I'd seen like an interview recently where Nakamura said something along the lines of like, he's not retiring like, immediately, and he still really wants to be the WWE champion and stuff. Like I would love Nakamura to win the title at some point, during his WWE run. I think he deserves a shot at, with that belt. But, unfortunately, I don't want any of this to come at the expense of Cody. And the stuff that you're talking about is more storyline based, out of Cody's control. Him as the champion of the company is still doing all the media. He's still the perfect, face of the company. And, so I just don't see any reason to take the title belt off Cody. But unfortunately, Drew McIntyre's
the reason is the
one who's
story
going to be the
isn't
casualty.
Good. The
Once again, not Cody's fault. Cody's going out there doing the best he can with what he's got. He's going out there cutting good promos. The fans are still behind him. They're still doing the whoa, and they pop for his music all in every country that they go to.
It's not his fault. I'm not blaming Cody. I am blaming that they can't come up with something better for him. So at this point, take the title off of him, reset a little bit. I think the only other out here is Drew loses again, and then Orton turns on Cody. And then you go towards Orton and Cody. But then what? I know you're going to say, well, Cody should beat Orton. It's just like, okay, then what's left after he beats Orton?
He beats the next guy. What do you mean?
I beat everybody. It's just Bob Holly out here.
It's like Big Daddy. I win.
Yeah.
What is this game? I win. I want Cody to win. I do think that the most likely scenario is Cody retaining, and them. I just don't know if they're going to do Orton and Cody at Rumble or Mania. I don't know if they'll wait till Mania on that, but it does seem like the kind of match that they, obviously they built towards it a lot, and they have a long history with one another. So there's plenty of meat on the bone still. Like Orton has been very irked in his, recent matches against Cody and stuff. You can tell he's very upset when he's, lost against him and stuff. So I think it's inevitable that Orton's going to turn and Cody's going to have to defend the title against Orton. And, if you want to go the route of Orton beats Cody at the Rumble and then Cody wins the title back at WrestleMania or something, I'm okay with that potentially. But
Cody winning the title 2 months after losing, I just saw that too. It's okay.
Yeah, I know. That's why you just gotta hold on to the title. See, you're agreeing with me now. Like, there's no point in these short spans of time where he isn't the champion. Like, there's really no point in John Cena beating him for that title outside of the 17th, best of all time, never seen 17, world record accomplishment that we all wanted to see our entire lives. Somebody beating Ric Flair. That's, that was kind of secondary to like, Cody should have never lost the championship to begin with. John Cena could have won that other title belt that, people don't care about it quite as much over on Raw. But Cody's got the real title belt. He's the champion. And, I just don't really see any reason for that to really ever end. So I'm going to go with Cody retaining over everybody.
Shocker.
I did like the stuff on Friday on SmackDown with him and Drew. I thought it was cool that, I don't know what's up with Jacob Fatu. I'm assuming he's actually out if they didn't have that match. Or if it's at a storyline. I haven't looked into it at all. You probably know better than me.
Yeah, Jacob's actually out for I don't know how long. Some people have said until the end of the year. Others have said it shouldn't be that long, so we shall see. But he is actually It seems like it was just like a dental procedure, which and hopefully things are good. But yeah, he is actually out for the time being.
Well, yeah, I mean, I figured something was up because they were in his hometown, and he was supposed to be in the main event and didn't wrestle. So I figured something was up with that. But I did see, I watched the end of SmackDown, and I saw that, I thought it was cool. Cody, how often do we see in wrestling the champion comes out during the show impromptu and says, "Oh, you want a title shot right now in San Jose, California, in front of all these fans right now? Well, we're not going to do it tonight, but we're going to do it at Saturday night's main event, and we're going to do it at this show or that show." Cody just sacks up and just goes in there in his dress shoes. Let me finish. In his dress shoes. Don't you dare interrupt me while I'm talking about Cody. No, he goes in there and in his nice clothes. I don't even know what else to say. He goes in there looking good, and he doesn't even care. He's like, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna fight this guy no matter what I'm wearing, even though I wasn't even prepared for this match. And Drew's out here oiled up, been doing push-ups and sit-ups and squats and stuff before he even came out here, like super ready to go. At 100, he's at 100. Cody's at like maybe 50% going into that, like not even mentally or physically prepared. And then he hit him with his title belt and got disqualified. He should have never been in the match to begin with. Drew totally deserved it. And I love Drew McIntyre. I don't even want to have to talk trash about Drew McIntyre. It's just, Cody's ops are my ops. And then when Cody, deals with this, then I'm back on the McIntyre, bandwagon.
Nightmare, I got
Same
this.
with Seth, by the way. Listen, go out there and treat CM Punk how Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins has, and you make my it's like Santa Claus making his list every year. Like you get on my good boy list if you're Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, unless you're going against Cody, in which case I got to put that to the side and I'm gonna look behind me. I think I'm gonna say.
We know. We shall see what happens next week. Drew should win. Cody should lose.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
The Broken Hardys are coming to NXT at Halloween Havoc. They will defend the NXT Tag Team titles in a Broken Rules match against Dark State.
Yep. There was a jumping Jeff Farmer. Yep. Yeah. I saw the video of them going into the Lake of Reincarnation, and it made this my spotlight just because this is actually a good fit. Like, it's Halloween Havoc. It makes sense. Like, if they were going to do the Broken Hardys thing, like, we got a taste of it with Woken Matt in WWE, but like them doing the fully broken thing in NXT is pretty cool, and it calls for it. And they're doing like some sort of like Hardy compound match or whatever, broken rules match or whatever technical term they use, where I'm sure they're going to use drones and fireworks, and creatures of the forest will watch along. The trees have eyes.
I don't know if they're gonna do like a full-on cinematic match. I think it might be something. It's live crowd. Maybe it like starts cinematic and then gets to the live crowd, but it's a pay-per-view. Most of these cinematic matches are on the television show, and like a tape television show at that. Like, when was the last cinematic match, pandemic excluded because it's pandemic,
sure,
but when was the last like cinematic match that was during with a live crowd there?
That's a good question. Pre-pandemic, I honestly can't remember. Well,
if it didn't
there really would have been no need for it pre-pandemic. Outside of the Hardys, were really the only ones doing it.
Yeah, and all the Hardys matches were TNA, which were taped shows, so you can just put it on there. They did the one in AEW on Collision, taped show, or Rampage. But again, taped show. So that's when they've done these cinematics. So I don't think we're gonna get a full-on cinematic universe match again. It might start that way. I don't think it's going to be a 20-minute cinematic match where the live crowd just has to sit there and watch.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. That's a good point. But I think it's going to be what you said. I think it'll be a mix of the two, where like certain scenes or the beginning of the match or whatever will be cinematic from the Hardy compound or whatever, and maybe they'll like fight their way into the live crowd or something. But I'm not super tapped into everything NXT is doing. Like I kind of go in and out. I was more tapped into it when I was covering like Evolve and NXT Level Up and all that kind of stuff for the Weekender. So I haven't had as much draw to the weekly NXT show, but I am interested in Halloween Havoc, and I'm interested in seeing what the Hardys do. And I've always loved just like the IP in general of Halloween Havoc. Like, it's cool that WWE uses that. Throwback to WCW always reminds me of Snickers and Slim Jims and the Macho Man and, the big pumpkin set and all that kind of stuff, or the whatever that was, like a goblin looking thing. But yeah, it's cool that they do that. So it's the right place. It's the right setting. Like if you're going to do Broken Hardys, you might as well do it at Halloween Havoc.
I think they're going to lose the titles though. I think the Dark State actually wins these titles.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because it's just for the NXT titles, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense. At some point, they got to, get this beanie on the right way. It's always like backwards with like the mirroring for the screen. I'm always confused which hand I'm actually using to grab it stuff. Anyways, yeah, I don't even have a prediction. I mean, I could see it, I guess, going either way, but I'm not invested enough into the current NXT product to particularly care who the tag team champions are right now. But I do love the Hardys, and I thought it was cool. I'm sure you saw the other week, even if you saw clips or maybe you wrote headlines or whatever, but they were on Kai Cenat's live stream, and like the chat was going crazy. Like they love, everyone loves the Hardys. You know what I mean? Like still to this day, like you can bring the Hardys out in front of any crowd, any group of any people of any age, any background. Like everyone sees the Hardys. They love them. So like that's something that's just always been super, super cool. Oh, we got a guest. We rarely ever have just straight run-ins. Yo, what's up? SP3.
These counter programming guys, they're out here talking about NXT. That would put butts in the seats.
We've gone through AEW and WWE. So where was the link?
This is towards the end of the show.
You're supposed to send me the link so I could simulcast on True Heel Heat with everything.
I totally forgot, and then saw you were live, and I was like, let me just come on here then.
Wow.
I mean, we can shift course completely and just talk about Degrassi for the next, until the show.
Yo, I've been rewatching season 12. Yo, okay. Season 12 is underrated. It's one of the best seasons.
I'm gonna have to go back and see which season. That well, actually, if you just tell me,
it's the Cam season.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is a good season. That's a good season. R.I.P. Cam.
Yes.
I have spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for a show that came for a season that was on 12 years ago.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. What did we mess up? Like, what are we counter programming right now?
You counter program AE Ramble.
Yeah.
Jimmy Macaram, the biggest
how is
Jimmy in the world.
How is my pal Jimmy? What do you think of the show last night?
He gave it a 7.5, but he gave it a 7.5 after shitting on most of the episode. He really enjoyed Bandito and Okada. He enjoyed the Moxley and O'Reilly, especially Bryan Danielson on commentary. But he relatively shitted on everything else.
That's like my bit with the star ratings. Like, hated it, wasn't for me, 5 stars.
Whole thing sucked.
Psychology didn't make sense. Too many kickouts, too many run-ins. They weren't selling anything in the match. They did 15 destroyers and 20 super kicks. I hated every second of it. 5 stars.
How ratings should be. You criticize it and then give it 5 stars.
Like Bully Ray said, it's all about the crowd reaction, and they get great crowd reactions. So I give it 5 stars.
They do. No, I missed Jensen. That's why I came. I haven't seen Jensen in the longest. It's been so long, Jensen. It's good to see you.
I miss you too. It was good. It was good talking to you through the DMs the other day about a little random Degrassi as well. There's a character in particular that me and SP3 were talking about behind the scenes. His name's Peter on the show. He's a real piece of shit. And we need to revive the show. We need to revive Degrassi dudes, really, even for a one-off at some point in the future, and just talk about this one character deserves his entire own episode. So
we need to do like an episode where we go through all the criminal Degrassi.
I love that.
Like and all the Degrassi characters who committed crimes. That would be a great podcast to do.
Oh, I love that. There's so many crimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of crimes.
It's funny. There's plenty of stuff we can get into from all seasons. That's great.
Yeah.
And we can do a counter, like which character was the biggest piece of trash, like outside of Trashly, who might supersede all these people just based on who
didn't commit any crimes, but
didn't commit any crimes,
more than the criminals.
Didn't commit any crimes, but kind of a stick in the mud. kind of annoying. So we're just gonna put her towards the bottom. I love how Jeremy just doesn't even. Yeah, anyway.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shit
I was gonna say.
Degrassi.
I know you guys gotta talk a few more things because Jensen has to watch football and do some gambling. So I will let y'all go, but I'll most likely do another run in next week. I promise.
We're off.
We don't have a show next week. Yeah, we're off next week, so you can run in.
Okay, so I'll definitely be here.
Solo show.
I promise.
Do this show by yourself without it.
I'll definitely be here. I don't know if the show will, but later, guys.
See you, dude. Good see you.
Pop in tomorrow, SP3. I'll see you tomorrow in the weeds. Just join us.
Good.
You can always join us there. All right, appreciate you, SP3. Everybody can go back and watch In the Weeds from today. We had Cam Hawkins on for like an hour and 15 minutes. He joined us. He told just random stories, hanging out with wrestlers. He was at Dynamite last night, so we talked live Dynamite experience for Cam. We talked some basketball and everything, and it was myself and SP3 as well. Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you love SP3, and how can you not? Tuesdays and Thursdays, he's on this channel with myself. All right, Jazmyn.
Tomorrow
Nyx.
Is you and Joel tomorrow.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, me and Joel.
Maybe I might do a run in at some point tomorrow. I don't have to work tomorrow. Maybe I'll jump in at some point randomly for a couple of minutes, like SP3 did. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Depends on if I'm awake or what I'm doing.
It depends on how much money you lose tonight and how the Vikings play.
Yeah, depends. Yeah, we're joking, but we're not joking.
No, we're not. People know. Joel and I have this conversation all the time because Joel doesn't take sports serious at all. Mm-hmm. Like Joel's kind of like a Blue Jays fan, but he's like, I don't care if they win or lose the World Series.
He likes hockey, doesn't he?
Yeah, he likes hockey. He likes the Senators and the Ducks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like he's like, all right, if my team wins, great. If my team loses, whatever. And obviously, I'm way different than that. And you're more where I'm at, where like if my team loses, I'm ready to end my life. If that's how it goes down. Like if it's a big game, I've told this story before, but after the Thunder lost game 3 of the finals and went down 2-1, I went and just like paced my neighborhood for like 2 hours. And that was
the streets alone. Damn, dude.
Well,
that's hardcore.
I have a safe neighborhood. No,
I'm kidding. I'm yeah.
But like my friend will text me and he's trying to like bullshit with me. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to send you a Pacers shirt. I'm going to send you a Halliburton shirt for your birthday and everything." And I'm like, "Dude, I have been walking the streets in 2 hours at this point. And if I got hit by a car, that would probably feel better than what I'm feeling right now." And he's like, "Oh, my bad. My fault." Like, I take it very, very seriously. So, no, when I say, like, if the Vikings lose, you might just be in a depressive state tomorrow. Like, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you see a report on the news in the Atlanta area about someone who ran headfirst into traffic in the middle of the night tonight, we shouldn't even joke about this. I will make this very clear. I would never actually do anything to harm myself or anyone else based on sports, but I do get very.
I would never do anything to harm anyone else. Myself, no promises.
Yeah. Well, except for my wallet. I've harmed my wallet many. My bank account has been harmed many times because of sports. But outside of that, yeah, they are just games at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm very invested in some of them. Yeah, I don't want to underplay my love of the Vikings. It's bad. It's bad. And the thing with sports too, and you can relate to this, a lot of it is like with the Vikings for me. I've been watching them for so long since I was, can barely remember having memories as a kid. And I have like a lot of like, I can like see a certain player from the past or like remember a certain game or like a certain roster or coach or something we had. And like, I relate that kind of stuff to like memory, like good memories from when I was younger. I could be like, oh man, I remember that game Randy Moss had when I was like 10 years old. Like I remember my mom being right there next to me and what she was wearing and what we were eating. And like, just like, it's like, that's what it is to me too. It's more than just like the wins and losses. It's like, I've been on this journey with this team for so long and I've watched every single game, every play for the most part for all these years. They've never won the damn Super Bowl, but like, even then, I still get excited about it and have really good memories based around it. It's unfortunate because like my dad and my brother are way more cynical than I am about it at this point. Like they just, they get angry and like threaten to never watch it again every week and blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of accept what I'm seeing because it's like, there's only going to be, the season is very short, so it's like, I'm trying to enjoy it while it's here. Cause the second the football season ends, it's like depressing for a while because it's like, damn, we don't get that again for another, half a year, before, it starts heating up anyway. So I'm more than invested in just the wins and losses. Like I'm like fully invested when it comes to like a lot of like my life memories and stuff too. So when things don't go my way, when it comes to my team, it sucks. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Jazmyn Nyx left WWE in September. She decided to not re-sign, and she went on Ariel Helwani's show and flat out said, they offered me the same deal they offered me 3 years ago. I was looking for a raise because cost of living is going up. I got to make some money here. I liked her comment of, if you don't get a raise, you are basically losing money because where cost
Inflation.
of living is, it's much higher now. And she decided that, all right, well, I'm not going to resign because you're not offering me more money. I'm with her on this. I don't know where you stand, but where do you stand?
Yeah. I mean, I understand where she's coming from for sure. And putting it that way, taking inflation into account, if you're offered the same amount of money, you technically are taking a pay cut because the cost of living goes up. You're making the same. It's just simple math and economics that you're technically losing money in the long run, overall scheme. That's also why, most jobs yearly will offer you some sort of raise, even if it's small. Like even the company I'm with, like every year I wind up getting another, like, I don't even know what it winds up working out to be, another $1 an hour or whatever. But it's factored in to cover for like whatever inflation, So, most companies do that. For that not to happen in the WWE, that is kind of cruddy because they're also talking about way more money than like what I make at my job. Those contracts are obviously a lot more than what I make. So when you get that kind of money coming in, you start, I have no idea how Jazmyn lives their life, but if I was making more money, I'd probably be spending more money too. I would want to be responsible for it, but you start making a certain amount of money, you start spending a certain amount of money, you expect a certain amount of money to be coming in. And then all of a sudden you're told, well, we're not going to, we basically want you to take a pay cut for the next 3 years or whatever. And then you're like, well, start doing the math. And like, that's for her, that's much bigger chunks of money that she's not bringing in and also doing the same amount of work, if not more work potentially. So I see her side of it for sure. On WWE's end, I'm going to be completely honest. It I think when you do that, you're basically giving someone a take it or leave it type of offer. They probably don't see a ton of value in her, and they said, if you want to stay, we'll give you this. And they probably expected her not to. They expected one or two things to happen. Either she was gonna not take it because because of the reasons she didn't, or she was just gonna take it, and they were okay with paying her what they were paying her, but didn't want to pay her more. So, I'm not saying it's a good thing for WWE to do or it's right, but it's similar in certain ways to like what happened with Karrion Kross as well. Karrion's obviously at a much different level of popularity and stuff, especially when he left. But they offered him a deal that he was like, I just want explanation on like why this is what it is. Or even another example famously would be AJ Styles and TNA, when they actually did give him a pay cut, and it was like, basically what you're telling me here is like, you want me kind of, but really don't care if I leave. And that's kind of how it came across when it came to her. So that's how I see it. I see both sides of it. I'm not surprised. I think she's handled it well, by the way. She's explained her side of it, and she's been respectful about it and respectful to the company. She hasn't burned bridges and been like, I'm never coming back, or I'm going to ride or die for AEW now, or blah, blah, blah. Like she explained what she's doing. Now her fans know why she's not there. And maybe things change, after she goes out there and does something different for a little while. WWE comes back with a better offer.
They obviously didn't see value in her, because if they did, they would have given her a raise. I think she should have gotten a raise anyway. One, cost of living, like she said. But if you're going to put her in the spots they put her in, she's been on television for 2 years. She's been a consistent television presence for 2 years. Fatal Influence, and one of their members is the champion right now. Like they are the top women's group in NXT. She was doing TNA dates for them as well. Like clearly they saw some value in her, at least enough to give her consistent television time and have her go to TNA as well. So based off of that, you'd probably get a little bit more money. They didn't, and their reasoning, at least to my eye, is, well, you're easily replaceable. And they basically have. They just slotted in Lainey Reed in Fatal Influence. Like, well, we can just put somebody else in that spot, pay them this money, and be okay. Because, no offense to Jazmyn Nyx, it's not like she is some top female in the company. She's in NXT. She is kind of the third in Fatal Influence. As much TV time as they get, she is the third there. She's not someone that is bringing in money for them. So they're just like, well, we don't need to offer you anything. So I see both sides as well. I think it's still kind of shitty of WWE to just not give her a raise, especially when you've invested something into her this much. And you're just like, nope, we're just not going to do that. Despite the fact that we make billions of dollars every year. We're just not going to give you $100,000 more. You should get that much. Like giving her the same amount of money as you gave her when she had 0 wrestling experience, and now she has 3 years experience and 2 years of television and has done things like go to TNA that she probably didn't need to do. Certainly when she signed her contract, that wasn't a thing of like, you're also going to work TNA dates. You should probably get a raise off of that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. But I also think on the flip side, I would assume, this is just an assumption, it's a reckless speculation. I have no insight on this at all. But I would imagine that there are performers who just take that. Like they get that offer and they're just like, okay, I'm still in the WWE. I'm still getting national exposure. I'm still getting, whatever, like $250,000 a year is better than $0 a year. I'll take, So, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people that get that offer that are in Jazmyn's situation or similar situation, and they just take the offer, But she stood her ground, and she, she's not wrong in her line of thinking, and you're not wrong. I think you're correct in your line of thinking completely, where like you should have more value being, 3 years in now and having more of a fan base and working across multiple promotions and being involved with Fatal Influence and, JC Jane being the champion. But I mean, I could see them, this is just an example, but I could see them totally doing the same thing to Fallon Henley, and maybe Fallon's just like, yeah, I'll take the money. Like I'll stay. She's in the same exact situation. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes for kind of everyone involved. I don't know really what's next for Jazmyn, but I'm sure she'll, find something to do, somewhere to go. And then maybe she works her way back to the WWE at some point. It's not like, let me look to see if it says how old she is, because I know she got to be pretty young. 27. I mean, she's got plenty of years left in wrestling if she wants to stay, doing it. So
let's go to the indies.
I want to give a big motherfucking shout out.
Let's give a big motherfucking shout out to Nick Gage. Brett Lauderdale posted last night that Nick is in treatment. He's been there, and he's going to stay there indefinitely, and hopefully things are just good with Nick. He came back to GCW at Homecoming. He's wrestled a couple matches since then, not in GCW, but in other promotions. He went to rehab last year. He said that, so that's nothing new for people, but he was in rehab last year, and that's why he missed dates and missed time last year. He seemed like he thought he was good, and now back, and hopefully he's okay. I don't know this for certain. I can imagine, the death of Sandra really put a lot on him, and because that was very much his rock. If you saw the Dark Side of the Ring, you saw how important she was to him, and losing her, I can imagine, made him go in an unfortunate direction. So hopefully he is getting the help that he needs.
Yeah, MDK. Nick Gage, obviously he means a lot to GCW, a lot to the indie scene, deathmatch wrestling in general. And he had just come back recently for GCW, and as you mentioned, he looked much different. He had lost a lot of weight, but hadn't really wrestled in GCW since he came back. He had done stuff. He even returned to CZW in the last year or two. My years are all screwed up since the pandemic. 2020 through 2023 seems like 1 year to me. So my years are all off over the last few. But I know obviously Nick Gage's been through a lot, as you mentioned, Sandra, and then you have, Justice Payne and Nate Hatred and these guys that his actual brother and these other guys he was close with in wrestling passing away, his own history with substances and the well-documented, lifestyle he was living that, got him, locked up and all that stuff. It's all very, very well documented out there. I'm obviously not telling any tales outside of school. I obviously hope he's doing whatever is best for him. It is cool to see that no matter how many times something like this, how many things happen with Nick Gage, Brett Lauderdale is always sticking up for him. I think that's a really, it's a lesson in loyalty where even if you know that someone you care about is either messing up or going through it really bad, or said they weren't going to do something, they wound up doing it or whatever. You don't just throw them away. If you care about them, you keep fighting and try to continue to help them. And it looks like Brett is not only trying to help Nick however he can, he's also reached out and told promoters, if Nick was booked on your shows, let me know. I'll make sure that, you guys aren't getting high and dry off stuff, you were expecting him to. So it sounds like Brett's and in all honesty, this is stuff he doesn't need to do as the promoter of GCW. He doesn't need to give Nick all these chances or be as supportive as he has all these years for so many reasons. But then when he's going through it and he's going through what he's going through right now and he needs help, he's there for him. And I think that's really cool. And I hope that the fans, stay by his side. It's always a big deal when Nick Gage shows up, especially in GCW. It was cool because we talked to Mose and Emil right after his most recent appearance, and it was a huge moment for those guys being able to be on the call for that. I've got to meet Nick Gage in person before at a GCW event at Center Stage. Hung out with him, our friend Cassidy Haynes, and some others in the parking deck right next to Center Stage in Atlanta, and that was just a really cool moment for me as a fan of his, seeing him behind the scenes and just the respect he had from everybody and how cool he was. And he didn't know me from anyone else. I was just hanging out with some of the wrestlers and some of the guys he knew. And he walked up, dapped me up, stood literally right next to me. And we talked in a circle for a while. And it was just So I hope things, are okay. And I'm glad that, Nick is getting hopefully whatever help that he needs, and the wrestling community continues to support him. That wasn't even one of our spotlights this week. I'm glad that you brought that up, because that just came out, like you said, that was just yesterday, wasn't it? That went out there. So, so MDK all effing day, shout out and love to Nick Gage.
One of our spotlights was Fancy Ryan Clancy winning the IWTV World Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. It's like the longest name ever. It just needs to be IWTV Championship. He defeated Marcus Mathers, ending Marcus Mathers' reign, which is about 300 days, I believe. But yes, Fancy Ryan Clancy it was 293 for Mathers, so it was close. But Fancy Ryan Clancy getting this championship. What'd you think of this match and this title change, Jensen?
I love everything about all of this. I thought the match was a masterclass in just everyone knows at this point, especially like more and more people are finding out. If you didn't already know about Marcus Mathers the last handful of years, people are finding out. We're talking about the ID program in a second, but Mathers does have a lot of eyes on him, and he's one of those like brat pack kids that, has been involved since he was a teenager, like Billy Starks and Brogan Finley. And there's so many, obviously Nick Wayne and Billy Starks, so on and so forth. And so he's starting, he hasn't even hit his prime yet, but he's starting to kind of form into what's going to become his prime right now, if that makes sense. He's putting on a little more size. He's working a little more different in the ring. The way he's putting his matches together, you could just tell Mathers is really putting it all together. And also he's part of the ID system, and I'm sure he's getting tips from guys like Sean Waltman now, and guys who really know how to work and have forever. And he's getting influence from them. So you can I can just see that Mathers, he's going to be a big star in the making. I think we'll get more into the ID system stuff, because I do have thoughts on him in that system as well. But I really thought that he looked great in this match. And Fancy Ryan Clancy, one of the best in-ring guys on the indies and has been for a while. And the two of these guys have teamed quite a bit too, also in Wrestling Open, where this match happened and this title change took place. So these guys have history with one another as allies. And this match I thought this was fantastic. They went almost 40 minutes, and there was a lot of really cool spots. It would take way too long to go through everything, but just for instance, the way that Ryan Clancy would do something at one point he put Marcus Mathers in a half crab, but Mathers was up on all fours trying to crawl to the ropes. So Clancy's punching him in the side from behind to flatten him out, and then turn it into an STF. Just really, really high level, chain wrestling, submission to submission type transitions and stuff it was just really, really, really well done. And then they did a lot of high flying stuff off the ropes. There's actually one spot during the match where Mathers is trying to jump from the second rope up to the top rope, and he slips, and you can tell it's a mistake, but Clancy is so smart in the moment that he just runs underneath Mathers and goes like he's trying to powerbomb him out of the corner. So it totally covered up for Mathers' slip. And then Mathers kicks him away, and they wind up doing the original spot. You can just tell both guys are just really in this pocket right now, where Mathers just has more buzz about him. But I could totally see if they continue the ID program, or it looks similar to how it did this past year, I would imagine Ryan Clancy is somebody that they would be interested in. And either way, I think that him becoming the IWTV champion, that's just a big nod of confidence, because this is a title that a lot of people haven't held. And it is kind of almost like a throwback to when it was the Powerbomb.TV championship before it became the IWTV title. Guys established that championship, like Jonathan Gresham and Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. And Ryan Clancy reminds me a lot of those types of wrestlers that are just going to go out there and have great matches. And then after the match, Bear Bronson comes out. He essentially has the Money in the Bank style contract for Wrestling Open, and he makes it clear that he's going to take the title from Ryan Clancy. So they've already set up like the big challenger for Clancy for that championship. And the finish, by the way, was 2 just standard drop kicks, which fancy Ryan Clancy's finisher, for those who may not know, is just straight up drop kick. But his drop kick is so nice. Like it's him and Okada are like the only 2 in that conversation, in my opinion, for like the nicest drop kick, the most credible, just like you could end a match with that drop kick. Randy Orton's always going to be on that list too. A lot of it has to do with how big Orton is and how high he can get in the air. But Ryan Clancy just has a picture perfect drop kick. And there was this was a really good match. Like there were points where like Mathers hit his 450 off the top. Clancy kicked out. Mathers hit him with like 3 in a row of his like cross-legged brain busters. Clancy kept stopping Mathers from jumping off the top for another 450. It was just, it was a great, I love this match. One of my favorite matches of the year, honestly. And I thought it was really cool that Clancy won, and Mathers, gave him the championship. He has respect for him still. They have a history, as I mentioned, with one another as friends and partners. And then they set up Clancy versus Bray Bronson for some time in the future. So this was really great stuff. And congratulations to Ryan Clancy for becoming the new champion. He totally deserves it.
We mentioned WWE ID and Marcus Mathers and how he is still part of the program. Meanwhile, a lot of departures over the past week. I think we talked a little bit last week about like Kylie Ray, Zeta Steele leaving. Kind of a big one yesterday was, or not yesterday, sorry. Last week was Bryce Donovan, who just challenged for the Evolve Championship, and now he is no longer part of it. Apparently, Jackson Drake's contract did get renewed, so he's the Evolve champion, so he will be sticking around. But they
Did I lose you guys, or did I lose Jeremy? I never know. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, all the
there,
12
I got
kids
you
are
now.
home. Yeah, the 12 kids are home, so the internet's just gonna collapse on everything.
Well, it's okay. We're down to the last talking point, anyways. I lost you when you brought up Bryce Donovan. Jackson Drake. He was the last thing I heard, that he was going to be staying. Did you say anything after that?
Yeah, Jackson Drake's staying, and then I just mentioned, Kylie Ray's gone, Zarzacker, Zeta Steele's gone, and they're supposed to be announcing new IDs next week on Evolve. But your overall thoughts on just the ID program and kind of where it stands a year later?
I'm kind of torn on it because I don't know. You may know. I honestly have not asked. I didn't want to be snoop around too much, but I'm wondering if these deals that they're getting for the ID program are 1-year contracts, and if both parties have the option to not renew, because some people are saying that they decided to leave, and others are getting re-signed, and others aren't getting renewed. Like Kylie Ray, for instance, I believe she's just not getting renewed, and I imagine a lot of that has to do with the pregnancy, which I know that I don't want to sound like there's two sides to that one, obviously, too, right? On one hand, it's not a good look for the WWE to essentially fire somebody while they're pregnant. But on the other hand, she was on a 1-year deal, and there was no guarantees past that to begin with. And she's going to be out and who knows if she even when she returns to wrestling. So that's a whole kind of that situation is kind of on its own. The others though, I think I want to say Zeta Steele was maybe the first that I believe publicly said she just decided she was not going to stay. But sorry, remind me, did Bryce Donovan say he was going to was it his decision or the company's decision? Did they mention?
He just said he's no longer part of the program. That was it. That's
a pretty neutral way of I mean, that's actually how I would handle it. If I'm being honest, I would just keep it very vague. Because that way, no one really knows, if the company wasn't interested or you just wanted to move on, I kind of play it like that probably personally. But I mean, the actual ID system, man, I think it can be beneficial. It just depends on if the company really sees long-term value in you or not. Because like Marcus Mathers, for instance, I could see it going either way. Like I could see him staying for, and I don't know how long when these option periods happen after a year or whatever, if like the WWE is like they get you for another year or if it's another 2 years. I don't know how long these deals are, but I'm just gonna let's say it's a year. If you're Marcus Mathers, I think it'd be a good idea to stay in the system personally. And that's just based on you're getting more exposure through the WWE. I think it's pretty clear the WWE likes you. You're losing the titles on the independents, which makes it seem more likely to me that WWE probably has some sort of plan for you, like whether it's with Evolve or to become their ID champion or something. But on the flip side, like Mathers doesn't need the system. Like he's already established enough on the independent scene already that like he's going to inevitably wind up in the WWE system or AEW or TNA or New Japan or really where like he's going to like Marcus Mathers is going to make it in wrestling. He doesn't actually need the ID system. But if WWE likes him and they're like, we don't want him to go anywhere else, we can keep him under our wing and kind of help form him in the vision we have of what he could become, then, you know, there could be a lot of value in being in this program and the WWE pretty much getting to mold you like a ball of clay. And I think that Jackson Drake's in a similar position. Like clearly the WWE likes him a lot. They made him their Evolve champion. He's out there with that title belt all over the indie scene representing for it. And he's young. That's another thing too. Some of these guys are literally like teenagers or in their early 20s. So like Jackson Drake could have a really long, successful career in the WWE if they like him and he's staying. But these are also long plays. I mean, there's just so many things at play when it comes to these decisions because like, you know, if you're 21 years old and you have a really bright future, the WWE might want to keep you under their wing, but they may not have any plans of you ever being on Raw or SmackDown for another 5 years. Whereas you could be on national television potentially in another company in 2 years or something. So like you just, there's a lot of things to consider. I am interested to see who the new crop of ID talent wind up being. And I don't hold it against anybody for joining the program. I think that people who join the program are doing it because they want a shot. They want WWE eyes on them, and they're probably getting some sort of financial help that they weren't getting. Obviously, they have some sort of contract as well that they're getting money from. So there's obviously benefits to it, but you know, that's kind of in a nutshell how I feel about it. I think that there's performers like Bryce Donovan who could probably, you know, like they're going to bounce back and they have a lot of support. That guy's from Creative Pro. He's got a lot of people behind him that are going to vouch for him. Like, so, you know, he's got a lot of size, but maybe his time just isn't right in the WWE yet. Maybe he can get more experience, comes back when he's, you know, a little more established or whatever. So, you know, we'll see. I'm interested to see who's in the program next though. There's some people, I won't name any names, but like there's some people that I could see being on that list that I think could be good fits, that I think would benefit from being a part of the system.
I need to see just more benefits out of the system right now, because if you're only giving people a year, like Kylie was gone. I know the pregnancy might have changed things, but Zeta Steel looked like she was going to easily make it, and she decided, no, like I'm not going to renew. They got like one female left. I think it's just Zoe Sager, and I don't think she gets used too much on Evolve. I never see her on Evolve. I could be wrong. And SP3 never mentions her on C-Suite. So they have Zoe Sager. And then for the guys, you just let Bryce Donovan go. I haven't seen the benefit outside of they're on Evolve, which is great that they're on Evolve. But as far as like being on the independent scene, there's been no real benefit to that. I mean, you've talked about it before of like, defending the WWE ID title, you get a WWE ID contract if you win that thing. There's been no one title defense, I think, since it's been a year. The program's had a year. And now the next title defense is Cappuccino Jones against Jackson Drake, who's the Evolve champion, who already has a contract. So I don't think there's been a ton of benefit for the independent portion If the wrestlers are benefited, if they're getting extra money, they're getting access to the performance center, they're getting all great. That's fantastic for them. But when they were talking about, oh, this is going to help the indie scene and blah blah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and I think part of that comes from, we've talked about it before, the convolution of like them having an ID title for the men and the women, and also having Evolve titles for the men and for the women that both basically serve the same exact purpose and have a very similar crop of talent fighting for them. So like the only difference is if you win the Evolve Championship, you're not guaranteed to get an ID contract. That's literally the only difference.
If you win the Evolve Championship, you're on Evolve, which is probably better than an ID contract, or they're at least the same thing at this point.
Right, but then in the grand scheme of things, like you mentioned, on the flip side of this, you know, we love Jack Cartwheel and guys like Marcus Mathers and stuff, but like the general WWE audience still doesn't know who these people are. Like most of their audience isn't watching Evolve on Tubi. It's cool that it exists. But yeah, I mean, I was covering it for the Weekender, but like I think that, you know, that's just, it's the biggest benefit I think in the entire thing is to the performer who is signed to the contract, who has WWE eyes on them that they didn't previously have. So, because if you get the right person looking at you and working with you, if you get the right person that likes your stuff or that you get some sort of rapport with, I mean, how many, and this is just a random thought that came in my head, but like, even like Sheamus, for instance, like back in the day, a lot of people would talk about how he was solid, like he was good, like when he came into the WWE, but like a big reason why he probably got the big push as fast as he did was because he became a workout partner of Triple H's like really early on. So he had like a guy at the top immediately vouching for him. And when there were like openings, they thought of Sheamus because they're like, Triple H has been talking about this guy a lot. Like there must be something to this. Like same kind of thing. Like if you're Marcus Mathers and you start getting in there good with Sean Waltman and like in X-Pac is like helping mentor you, all of a sudden like something crazy happens and like a spot opens on an NXT show or something. And it's like, I know this kid Marcus Mathers, like he's been killing it in our ID program, you know, like, I mean, so there's clearly potential benefits to this stuff, but like, I agree with you that like on the independent level, like the only benefit I think has been on like the social media side, because like WWE, their social media is so powerful and has like such a thumbprint that like the WWE social medias are pumping out like advertisements for independent shows that normally they would have never advertised. So like that's a pretty cool benefit, but I also don't know how many people, it's probably not a very high number for being honest. I don't know how many people are like making that decision of like, I'm going to go to this random independent event that I've never had interest in, that I've never wanted to go to before, that's right up the street. I've never gone, but I'm going to check it out for the first time because I found out Cappuccino Jones is defending the ID championship. Like, I doubt that that's happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
I don't really think it is either. So maybe these companies are getting something out of it. Maybe they've seen an increase in sales. We don't fully know that. I don't think there's a ton of buzz. Like there's more buzz for Mercedes Moné going to Italy and Poland and Iceland and all that stuff than this WWE ID stuff. So we shall see. All right, Jensen, let's get out of here. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yes, y'all can follow me on X at FightTalk _ Skull Vikings. You can find me hopefully in the winner's circle later tonight. We got the Vikings playing the Chargers and Skull Vikings. That's pretty much everything I got going on. Next week, me and Jeremy will be off. Jeremy has a commitment, and maybe
it's trick-or-treating here. I'll spoil it. Yeah, the last Thursday in October is the town trick-or-treating. I have 12 kids, so we're going trick-or-treating.
There you go. And I hope everyone has a happy and safe Halloween. Go out there, have fun, dress up, and have, do all that good stuff. If that's what you're into, eat candy, have a good time, but make sure the candy is safe. I remember when I was a kid and we went trick-or-treating, we always got to check the candy just in case. There's crazy people out there. And beware of people out there on the road. Like there's a lot of drunk driving that goes on Halloween. Take an Uber, party, drink responsibly, all that good stuff. You know, this is as lame as I've gotten in my older age, as we get closer and closer to 40, as crazy as that is. I think more and more about that stuff. I don't party anymore. I hardly ever drink at all. I used to a lot though. And I think about situations that I've been in or that friends I know have been in, or even people I know that I've lost because of really bad decision-making. Just that's where my mind goes when I think about holidays, is like Halloween, have fun. I know people look forward to it all year, but if I can give you one piece of advice, just be aware out there and be careful while you're out there having fun. Happy Halloween in advance to everybody. And I hope you and your family has a good, fun Halloween. You get a bunch of really good candy. I hope you get to eat some of that candy too.
I'm going to steal all their candy. That's what I always do.
There you
I always
go.
take mine when I have it. All right, Jensen. Appreciate you as always. Appreciate everybody tuning in for an early edition of the show today. Again, we're off next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks to hopefully talk about Cody Rhodes losing the undisputed WWE title to Drew McIntyre. Myself and Joel will be back tomorrow in the weeds, 10 a.m. Eastern. Maybe Jensen will show up. Maybe
I'll throw this out there.
Will show up.
I'll throw this out there on the record. If Drew McIntyre beats Cody Rhodes for the championship, I can't promise it, and it probably will not happen, but I'll at least do it. I will direct message Drew McIntyre and try to get him on the show and address my enemies. Okay. So right. we will shoot high.
Now I really hope that Cody loses the title. That'd be great. All right, Jensen, appreciate you. Everybody tuning in, appreciate you. I'll be back tomorrow. Spotlight will be back in 2 weeks. Everyone have a good, safe, happy night.